going on, everybody? What is going on? Good morning. Good morning. Thank you very much for being here. Appreciate you guys being part of the show. Long time no see. When was the last time I saw you guys? About 8 hours ago? Maybe 7.5 hours ago? All right. Yeah, there's a lot going on. Another 3 games in 4 nights for the Lakers, by the way, coming up. Tomorrow they got the Denver Nuggets. I know they got, is it Pacers, I think, on Friday. And then they go right after that, they got the Knicks coming up on Sunday. So my apologies in advance that you guys got to see me this often. My apologies on that. Appreciate you guys being a part of the show. Fun show today. A lot going on today. A lot of good topics from last night's game. So I appreciate you guys hanging out. Cheers to everybody here. Got my coffee. This is coffee number 2 here. Today's might be a 3-cup coffee day. Yesterday I was out and about doing whatever I was doing. I was like, you know what? Let's go ahead and grab one of those macchiatos. A little bit of milk, a couple shots of espresso. It was like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I knew I had a late day. I appreciate everybody being a part of the show. Want to give everyone a quick rundown what we're going to be doing today. Thank you again for hanging out. If you guys don't mind, would greatly appreciate it. If you guys don't mind subscribing to the channel, it would be fantastic. It would be great, obviously, to have everybody subscribe to the channel. That'd be great. And however you're listening today, this is something that we've been working a little bit more on. We are trying to use a couple different platforms as well, part of the partnership with AM 570. So we got a few different platforms that we're using today. So thank you again for being a part of the show, and looking forward to spending the next hour with everybody. Here's what we got going on. So we'll spend some time talking about last night's game. I thought last night's game had some interesting storylines to it. I thought the 24-7 comeback to not only get the Lakers what would have been a really, really tough loss to swallow, and it would have just kind of added to the list of other losses that the Lakers had this season, but they didn't. Came back, I think, at one point down 8 in that fourth quarter, come back, and Lakers end up winning the game by 9. So we'll kind of walk through some of the different details of yesterday's game. I got a clip I want to play for everybody. There was a moment yesterday where in the post-game show, Danny Green and James Worthy were talking about Austin Reaves, and I think James Worthy had a little suggestion of something to do in regards to Austin Reaves. He continues to struggle, continues to not be the player that I think we're all accustomed to him being, and the type of player everybody thought he was going to be, the way he started the season, and you're just kind of thinking forward here. So we'll spend a little bit of time talking about Austin Reaves. Rui Hachimura, what happened to Rui? Is it just me, or is Rui Hachimura not the same player at all? I don't know if I have a solution for that, but I will read some of the comments and get people's thoughts on it. Rui clearly not the Rui Hachimura that we're all accustomed to, so we'll spend a little bit of time on that as well. Let's see what else we got here. Luka technicals. They were saying something was said at one point was said about at one point something was said about, I think in the Spectrum's postgame show yesterday, they were talking a little bit about how that technical for Luka could potentially be rescinded. Maybe it is rescinded. I don't know. I have no idea. But something to keep in mind there, Luka's only 2 technical fouls away from a suspension. So certainly have that be a conversation. Can you imagine Luka suspended in a game here, a key game against, you pick whichever team that you want to pick? Can you imagine he's suspended in one of those games? So something to watch for as we still got over a quarter of the season left. LeBron's got all these milestones basically every single day that he's breaking. Every single day, it seems like LeBron's breaking another milestone. Okay, with all that in mind, what does it mean? Does it mean anything at this point? He's doing something where every time he does something, it's like, yeah, well, what are you going to do? It's not like you almost aren't even appreciating some of the different stuff that he's doing. There was also an article that Dan Wyke had in The Athletic, came out yesterday, and Wyke basically mentioning that nobody really knows what LeBron's going to do after this season. I feel like I have a pretty good idea of one of those things that may happen. Then I got some NBA news, got a power rankings on ESPN that we'll get into as well, and then we'll call it a morning. So Appreciate everybody hanging out. Thank you again very much for being here. Any comments that you guys have, any thoughts, please put it in the comments, and I'll try to get to some of these comments as the show progresses. And certainly we'll spend some time getting everybody's opinion on the game as well. Okay, let me look at this here real quick. Got a couple things I'm trying to look at the same time. All right, let me see here. All right, okay. We got to make one quick change here, and then I think we're good to go. Okay, I think we should be good to go now. I think we were might have looked. Were we private on our YouTube? I think we're public now, so I think we're. All right, let's get things started here. I will, like I said, as far as the comments go, we'll put as many comments in here as we go through the show. Let's start off. So let's clearly start off here talking about last night's game. And my apologies. I think we were private on at least on my YouTube here. So I just put it to public. So we should be having most of our peeps coming in here with some of the chat and everything else. Don't worry, you didn't miss much. All you missed was me yapping to start off the show about the rundown of the show. So that's all you missed. All right. All you missed was the rundown portion of this. Okay, so let's go back to yesterday's game here real quick. I don't think a lot of people are going to remember last night's game and say to themselves, oh my gosh, this was an unbelievable win, and this is the signature win everybody was looking at. However, here's what I will say. What I will say is I think sometimes you can grab a W, and however you look at it, you could grab it and you could move on, and you could say to yourselves, all right, you know what? Lakers just need some of these wins. But I think something happened yesterday that was important. They haven't had really too many games where they're tested late. I think I've said this all the time. When it gets really tough for the Lakers, there's always a moment in a game where you're like, yeah, Lakers are not coming back in this game. That's just not the Lakers style. That's not what the Lakers do. This is not Lakers basketball where they kind of roll up their sleeves and make things a little bit, they muddy the water. That's not Lakers basketball at all. I'm not going to make a big deal that last night's win against the Pelicans was a big deal, because it wasn't. But here's where I'll give the Lakers some credit. They're about to lose that game. I mean, down 8 in the fourth quarter. I think Zion got an and one. I don't know how many minutes were left in the game, but there was, certainly you're getting down into crunch time. And the Lakers come out of a timeout and everything completely changes. And all of a sudden they go on this, I think at one point, maybe a 12-0 run. And then when the dust settled, it was a 24-7 run. And the Lakers obviously end up winning the game. For me, I think the thing that stood out to me most, the Lakers don't typically show some character late in games if they're down. Lakers don't typically show some fight late in games. I'm going to give them credit for that, because if they're losing last night's game and we're coming on here again, and now there's a little bit more cushion between them and Denver and Minnesota and Houston, and it's like, hey, a stretch where you were supposed to go 4-0. When I'm talking about the game against Phoenix, they were supposed to win that game. They didn't. And let's say the only two games that you won were Golden State and Sacramento, then I think, we're having a much different conversation today. I'm not here to try to sell you on last night's game was a big deal, but what I think I will sell you on is that's not typical of Lakers basketball to be down late and then to really kind of lock down on the defensive side, come back from 8 down, and find a way to kind of dominate towards the end because you played well defensively. The ball kind of started flowing offensively, and crypto for a night looked like it was an entertaining place. That's the only thing I'll give the Lakers credit for. So I'm not trying to make it sound like it was a big deal. I'm not trying to make it sound like by any stretch of the imagination, this is, obviously something that we'll look back on. And like I said, nobody's going to look back at this game and say to themselves, this is exactly how this is the pedigree that the Lakers need to go make a run in the Western Conference. But I will give them some credit yesterday, because that's not typical Lakers basketball, where they're struggling, They're not playing well. 6 minutes left to go in the fourth quarter, and then all of a sudden they turn it on. Typically for the Lakers, you're down 8 with about 6 minutes left to go. I'm not surprised if Lakers end up losing that game by 10 or 12 points. That did not happen last night. One thing that I will say as well, they had 7 block shots in the fourth. Somebody want to help me with this? If you're watching the game last night, James Borrego is the head coach of the Pelicans. Zion Williamson, obviously a key player for them. And, you know, I think Pelicans actually have some pretty decent talent. Does somebody want to explain to me what the Pelicans were doing towards the end of that game yesterday? They ran the same play 14 times, and they either they stripped the ball out of Zion's hand, or he got an offensive foul, or he tried putting up a tough shot over Jackson Hayes or something like that. I could only be blunt about this. Kind of some low IQ basketball for the Pelicans. Maybe it's their inexperience, but they were most effective when that ball was moving. And towards the end of that game, that ball didn't move at all. And it played to the Lakers' advantage. I mean, that's Lakers. What do they care? They're just trying to get a W, which they did. The one thing that I will say, and then I'll start looking at a few of the comments here, and then there's some other topics that I want to get into. The one thing that I will say is the 22 turnovers that the Lakers had. I think 7, 5, and 5. I want to say 17 turnovers total by LeBron, Luka, and AR. That's absurd. So the one thing I will say about last night's game, you have a game where you commit 17, 16, 18 turnovers against a good team, you're losing that game by double digits. So Lakers were fortunate that even with 22 turnovers, I think they had 10, if I'm right, in just that third quarter. And all, you know, the only good thing I'll say with the turnovers, they're very fixable, but Lakers so nonchalant with the ball. Some areas of that game where you're kind of questioning, Luka, where are you throwing the ball? LeBron, what are you doing with the ball? Hopefully that's an area, obviously, Lakers are able to clean up, but 22 turnovers in that game, 17 coming from LeBron, Luka, and AR. Obviously, that portion was awful, and something Lakers got to figure out and clean up. But at the end of the day, like I mentioned, I think the thing that I look at and I probably pay attention to the most is they found a way to get a win, 24-7 run to end that game. Go stack up the W. You know it's not perfect basketball. You know you got a long way to go until kind of figuring out what exactly the type of team that you are. But I'm going to give them credit for that comeback win, because there's a lot of games I think the Lakers in previous games, they don't win that game. All right, let's see what we got here. Let's take a look at some of the comments. Haven't caught a show in a while. Good to see you, Slee. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you for coming here. Thank you for being a part of the show. Welcome in. Come on in here. Especially this time of the year as we start looking at the last month of the season or so, and some really good matchups coming up. AR could barely score against the Pelicans. What the F he's going to do against Denver, OKC, the Wolves, etc. JJ needs to chew their asses out after turning the ball over. I'm going to spend a little time on Austin Reaves, because I think he deserves some time to talk about. And I also think there's a point being made by James Worthy, which we've made on this show before. And I wonder if this gets any momentum or not, but something we can talk about in a second. 17 turnovers, terrible. Guys, and they're definitely, they're the type of turnovers that it's like they're such careless turnovers too. There's nothing that there were plays yesterday. Don't get me wrong. There's some moments yesterday where the Pelicans had some good defense, but for the most part, they had a lot of plays too, where it's like the Pelicans have nothing to do with it. Pelicans had a lot of turnovers too. I think they had 19. So kind of a sloppy game, to be honest, from both teams. Trey Murphy III is destined to be a Laker. I'm speaking as, by the way, can I tell you this as I shake my entire table? Dude, Trey Murphy III is nice. I know there was a lot of chatter about Herb Jones, and really both of those players come trade deadline. Trey Murphy III is nice. Athletic, plays good defense, 3-and-D player. I mean, a real 3-and-D player. That dude's nice. Give him a lot of credit. Nice player to watch. Fun player to watch. All right, let's get some more here. One or two more here, and then go from there. Pelicans beat the T-Wolves in Minnesota, so if healthy, they're not terrible. I'm with you on that. There is definitely, a portion of them that the Pelicans yesterday, their record says one thing, but the actual team that they threw out there with DeJounte Murray, that's not a terrible team. They got some young guns too, some guys that will certainly be nice players in the league, but it might take them a year or two, whatever, to get there. And we'll see what they end up doing with Zion Williamson in the future. Okay, let's keep moving here. A lot of different topics that I want to get into. And one of the topics I want to hit on real quick, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but I did tell you guys this yesterday. I told you yesterday that this will be the first time that they ask Luka and JJ Redick about that little sideline moment that they had Saturday night against the Warriors. I'm going to spend 2 minutes on this, and I'm going to be done with it, and we can move on. But I am going to at least tell you what they said before the game and after the game. Here's what JJ said pregame. He said, "It just feels normal, which is probably part of the reason I wanted to coach the Lakers. I was talking with Luka about it. We were actually laughing about it. I don't feel any tension." He said he didn't care about it. Again, this is talking about that exchange that they had. Everyone has an opinion. Sports talk, barbershops, chat rooms, everyone had an opinion. No, everybody's opinion is more easily accessible, or now everybody's opinion is more. So it's more amplified now, but it's normal. And what he was basically saying, that interaction that he had with Luka is actually very normal. It is part of kind of the day-to-day of a head coach and a player. I disagree, if I'm being honest with you, even though I don't think it's a big deal. But I disagree. You know why it's not normal is because we haven't seen that yet with JJ Redick and Luka. And if there was more footage of that out there, then my apologies. But I haven't seen that. So since Luka's been a Laker, no, I have not seen that type of interaction between the two of them. But do I think it's a big deal? No, I don't. Do I think Luka hates JJ Redick? I don't. I think actually those two look like they have a pretty decent relationship together. Again, I don't want to spend much time on it, but we could just put a bow on that. Luka addressed it. JJ addressed it. That thing's done. And we know kind of some of the run that it was getting, I think, on Monday. And yesterday was the first day that they could address it. Okay. Let's keep moving on here, because there's a couple other things that I want to hit on. And, certainly some angles from yesterday's game as well. I want to play you guys something. From Spectrum last night. James Worthy is talking about Austin Reaves. It's Chris McGee, it's Danny Green, and it's James Worthy postgame. And I got a clip that I want to play for everybody, but let me just kind of set this up real quick. Austin Reaves, not the same Austin Reaves since he came back from his injury, period. I saw some people on the postgame show yesterday saying, maybe he came back too early, maybe this, maybe that. I don't know. I kind of got a feeling that the Lakers were going to be extra cautious with Austin Reaves, and they probably were. But here's the bottom line. Austin Reaves is clearly not the same exact player as he's been. And maybe there's a number of reasons for it. Maybe part of the reason is he's still kind of trying to work his way back and he's looking for a rhythm. Maybe some of the reason is lineups. Maybe some of the reason is he doesn't have the ball in his hands enough to kind of do what he does best. I don't care what the reasoning is, but I do know that if Austin Reaves is this type of player the rest of the season, Lakers are going to struggle. And if he's this type of player in the playoffs, then the Lakers will be out in the first round. Austin Reaves' numbers over his last 6 games, I'm just going to give you his field goal percentage, because I think a lot of times the question is efficiency. 40% against the Celtics, 37% against the Magic, 41% against the Suns, 63% versus the Warriors, 33% versus the Kings, 26% versus the Pelicans. Yesterday game against the Pelicans, only had 2 points at the half, ended up with 15 points, got most of his damage in the fourth quarter, did hit a couple of big shots for the Lakers as well. That ain't Austin Reaves. There was a suggestion, yes, you guys can kind of hear this exchange here, but Danny Green was basically trying to make a suggestion yesterday that the Lakers should use Austin Reaves more with the second unit. I think James Worthy thought he meant they should be coming off, Austin Reaves should be coming off the bench. Take a quick listen. We could have this conversation. We've had it before, but obviously if this is a suggestion from James Worthy, it's definitely notable, and this is, obviously a great basketball mind. Take a quick listen to James Worthy.
I like your idea. Rui's coming off the bench, I think, right now still. Is he not?
Yes, he is.
And so I don't, Austin coming off the bench where he has complete control of the basketball in his hand like Luka does, I think he could be very effective, more productive. Not to say he's not when he's out there with those guys, but I think to get back to the effectiveness that he had, I wouldn't mind seeing him handle the ball 80, 85% of the time when he's on the floor.
And he necessarily doesn't.
Here's what everybody's, I think, saying about Austin Reaves. I think what they're saying, listen to what James Worthy said. He said something, I think, kind of contradicted himself for a second, because he said, not that he's not effective with the other guys. He's talking about LeBron, talking about obviously Luka in that starting lineup. But he just wants to see him handle the ball more, have moments where he can handle the ball 80, 85% of the time, rather where now he's probably handling the ball 30% of the time, if that. I don't know what those numbers are, but here's what I will tell you. He's not effective at the moment with LeBron and Luka. He's not. And he's not effective because he just becomes a further and further role player. And it'd be different if he was a 3-and-D player, no problem. It'd be different if he was, I don't know, a big that had a role. But he's not. Austin Reaves is a guy that needs the ball in his hands. And there's a long enough stretch now where, to me, it is a concern of having Austin Reaves be this ineffective. Now, if Austin Reaves was a starter and he was still having the same type of output and still putting up 25 a game and 5 assists and 5 rebounds, then nobody would say anything. But I think the reason why Austin Reaves has been as ineffective as he has is because he's not Austin Reaves. He doesn't have the ball in his hands, which I don't think is going to change. I think obviously the ball is going to be in Luka's hands, but he doesn't have the ball in his hands like he's accustomed to, or like he was accustomed to when he was having all that success. It's the first time that I've heard somebody of the caliber of James Worthy suggest, hey, maybe this guy should be coming off the bench. I don't disagree. Listen, what's the goal here? Is the goal for the Lakers to play a politics game and make sure everybody's happy, or is the goal to win? And I'm not telling you that if Austin Reaves comes off the bench, it answers all the Lakers' questions. But what I am telling you is it definitely seems like it would be better for the team if Reaves came off the bench. That's the point that I'm trying to make. More than anything else, not trying to stir up a conversation, not trying to say that Austin Reaves is a bench player. You can get starter minutes and close out games even as a player coming off the bench. The problem right now is what Austin Reaves does, what Luka Doncic do, there are a lot of similar things. Yes, Luka can do it as a top 5 player in the league, and Austin Reaves probably a top 25, 30 player in the league. I don't know, wherever you want to put him. Maybe not clearly that high based off of how he's played over the last month or so. But I don't think it's insignificant that Worthy had that idea and had that suggestion, and I do think there's something there. I listened to JJ Redick say something yesterday. He said this now a couple of times, that the Lakers are still a work in progress. I agree they are. I agree they're still trying to figure out rotations. I agree there's still a lot of things that they're trying to figure out. But with everything that they're still trying to figure out, I think one of the most important things they got to figure out is how to get Austin Reaves to be the player that he was. Maybe there's a solution for it. Maybe there isn't. Maybe Austin Reaves just naturally will come back and it's going to start tomorrow against the Denver Nuggets and he'll start dropping 25 again. And this isn't a conversation. But there's a large enough sample size and there's enough duplication between Luka and AR that I think it's a fair question. And I think it's going to be interesting the way it plays out. But that's the first time I've heard someone like James Worthy suggest it, even though we've had a conversation about it. When I heard James Worthy say it yesterday, I think he's kind of seeing a similar thing. Why don't you just try it? What can it look like? By the way, I think if Reaves goes to the bench, it also helps some of these bench players. Maybe not a Luke Kennard, but it can help a guy like Rui Hachimura, which we'll get into in just a second. Okay, so there's enough right there on the Austin Reaves front, and hopefully, obviously you guys can give your thoughts and opinion on it as well. Curious to hear everybody's thoughts on what you think in regards to that. Let's keep moving here, and I'm going to start looking at everybody's comments. Before I do so, quick shout out here to Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm. Was at the game last night, texting me. He's like a scout out there. It's like, Al, here's what I think they should do. I'm like, I know, Brad, but I don't have an inside track here to the organization. Obviously, a big Laker fan, somebody that certainly can help anybody who's looking for an attorney, specifically an injury attorney. He's the best in the business. He might not be the loudest. He might not be one of those out there that is trying to get your attention everywhere you turn. But I'll tell you what he is. He's respected in the industry. Insurance companies all know that if they got a case and Brad Wallace is on the other side, then they got to roll up their sleeves and go to work because he's definitely going to fight for you. Like I mentioned, I know we got listeners everywhere, but most of them are going to be in the state of California, Southern California. Anybody that's in the state of California, he can represent. Go to this URL that we created, wallacewins.com/Sliwa, wallacewins.com/Sliwa. If you go to that website, then you can get a free consultation. So that's the message that I get across more. Shout out to Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm being a part of the show. And shout out to him for being not just a loyal listener and a friend and everything else, but somebody that really supports the channel. All right, let's keep moving here. And I could start looking at some of these comments in regards to Austin Reaves. Okay, let's see what we got here. All right, here's a simple one. Sign and trade Austin. You know what I think is a fair question? And you guys can tell me, what you think on this one. I will tell you this. If he keeps having some of the output that he's having, let me just play out a scenario for everybody. Let's say Austin Reaves just never gets back into that groove that he had in the beginning of the season when he was playing like an all-star, putting up 40s, had a 50-point. I think he had a 50-point, but he was putting up some monster numbers. By the way, he was always also a facilitator, going out there and getting 8 to 10 dimes a game, whatever the case is. Let's say that version of Austin Reaves does not come back this year. Let's say he's relatively quiet in the postseason. Again, just nothing special. Still a good player, has moments, but nothing special. It's going to hurt his bottom line. I mean, it will. Because I think there will be, I said this before, we might have done this, I can't remember if we did it last week or if we did it on Monday, but I did say this was kind of an interesting stretch for Austin Reaves because he's got his own individual output to go get the most amount of money he can get in the offseason. And I do think he wants to be a Laker, and I do think the Lakers obviously want to do everything they can to bring him back. But let's just say that he has kind of a mid-rest of the season. Playoffs are nothing crazy. And that's how you walk into the offseason with Austin Reaves. Is he still getting $45 million a year? I don't think so. I think it's it. By the way, maybe it plays to the Lakers' advantage. Maybe he wants to be a Laker. He doesn't want to go anywhere. And maybe there aren't as many offers as he thought he was going to get in that $45 million range. I know those numbers are crazy, but there's going to be a market for Austin Reaves. I think we all know that. The sign and trade Austin part, you got to understand something. Austin Reaves also has a say in a sign and trade. So, he can help the Lakers in that regard, or he can hurt the Lakers. But I think at the end of the day, I think the Lakers are probably more concerned with trying to bring him back and then figure it out there. All right, let's see another one here. Reaves' game has some holes. Okay. Let's get another one here. What has changed? Both Luka and Reaves were getting an efficient 25 playing together at the start of the season. No, not necessarily. I mean, I think there was a lot that changed. Luka missed some games. LeBron, remember, missed the first 14 games of the season and then wasn't playing some back-to-backs. There were some games where Luka and LeBron missed, and AR was still in there and got a kind of a chance to run the entire show. I don't think it's been the same. I don't think it's been the exact same at all. I really don't. All right, let's get a couple more in here and go from there. Somebody here saying LeBron is the problem. All right, I've heard that one before. All right, let's see what else we have here. If the Lakers give AR the max, somebody should be arrested. I don't think they will. and I don't think they're going to have to. But I definitely think he wants to be a Laker, and I think the Lakers have interest in bringing him back. Last one here, and then we can move on from the AR topic. So I appreciate you guys chiming on this topic. AR is good, but he's not a superstar. He's an all-star in inconsistent one. Well, he's not an all-star because he hasn't been an all-star yet. So by the definition, we can't say he's an all-star. Saying he's an all-star is that's a big term. I mean, to be an all-star in the NBA, especially in the Western Conference, that ain't easy. Look at all these great guards in the West. How are you going to make it in the West? And I know the structure is all different now. You got the international pool and everything else, but I can sit here and I could say, I mean, let's just take a couple of these teams in the Western Conference right now. You got, if I had to go through some of the different all-stars, just off the top of my head, you got Luka, you got Anthony Edwards, you got Devin Booker, you got Steph Curry. I'm saying this is the challenge it is to make it in the Western Conference. De'Aaron Fox is going to make a case for himself. And I'm just talking about guards here. Who else am I missing here? Some of the guards in the Western Conference. Jamal Murray, you look at. Obviously, that dude's an absolute stud, specifically in the playoffs. I know I'm missing guys. There's studs everywhere. To be an all-star in the Western Conference, that's not an easy feat. And he's not an all-star. So, we can't say, well, he's an all-star level type of player. No, he's not an all-star type of player because he's never been an all-star. All right, let's get some more here. AR just gets too emotional. It's great. He plays with heart, but he just needs to calm down and knock down his mid. You're not wrong there. I think probably there's some truth to that. All right, now look, I get ready to get off the topic. Now everyone wants to go AR. Let me get a couple more of these comments in, and then I want to talk Rui. Couple more comments in, and then we'll talk Rui. Reaves is one of the best finishing guards in the league after SGA. He doesn't need a signature move. Just give him the ball and let him go to work. Part of the problem, I would tell you, is that he's not being allowed, I think, when he's playing predominantly with Luka and with LeBron. This isn't just a Luka thing. And it's also smarter to have Luka with the ball than AR. Not all the time, but I think most of the time. The problem is he's not able to just be himself. I think that's probably the biggest issue with Austin Reaves is he's trying to kind of figure out how he fits in, and that I think takes away from his game. Okay, final one I want to read on AR, and then I want to move to the Rui topic. So Austin shoots 26% around 15 shots, gets 5 turnovers, and instead of really analyzing while he's struggling, we attribute the fit between the big three. No, I think what we're trying to say, or at least the point that I'm trying to make, is if he could be the head of the snake to that second unit, I think he could be more himself. And I don't think he's going to shoot 26% around the field. I don't think he's going to have 3.5 assists a game like he's had over this stretch. And the turnover is probably still going to be there just because, honestly, I think a lot of these guards commit a lot of turnovers. Plus, you get to go up against some of the second unit guys and the first unit guys. All right, I'm going to stop there on AR because I think this conversation about AR, honestly, I think we could talk about it for an hour, and there's still a lot of other things that we want to talk about. I want to share my screen with everybody. I want to bring up Rui Hachimura here for a second. What happened to Rui? What's going on with Rui Hachimura? And is some of this have to do, I think they were saying something yesterday in the postgame show. They said something yesterday during the postgame show that let me actually try to see if I can make this a little bigger. They said something yesterday. There we go. Yeah, let's do that. They said something yesterday during the postgame show that I thought was interesting about Rui. The piece on Rui that, Eric, do me a favor, see that ESPN box, if you could bring it in a little bit from, what would you call it, right to left or left to right, and I think it will make it longer. See if you could do that. There you go. So there was something that they said yesterday about, Rui could potentially be more of a facilitator, or Rui can need some help of they need kind of a head to the snake, and that's off the bench, which is kind of why you're making a case for maybe Austin Reaves moving to the bench. Look at Rui's numbers over these last stretch of games. I mean, I'm trying to find to the right-hand side is his points. So you could just kind of see all the way to the right is the points. The last good game Rui has had, he had a 21-point performance against the Dallas Mavericks. Okay. Is that right? No, that seems pretty. Oh, yeah, that's right. Then he missed a lot of games. So really, I guess maybe what we could look at is some of his games since he's been back. But look at Rui's numbers: 3-point performance, 5-point performance, 10-point performance. Let's see what else we got. Scroll back up here. Scroll back up. 5-point performance, an 8-point performance, and then yesterday 2 points for Rui Hachimura. The amount of shots he's taking, his field goal percentage, he almost seems you could come out of that screen now. He almost seems just irrelevant now. I mean, if I'm being honest with you, there's a little bit of, I think with Rui Hachimura, remember, this is a player where I think a lot of people were trying to make a case, don't trade the guy. No, you can't trade him right now. At the trade deadline, everybody was talking about, his importance and how key of a player that he could potentially be for the Lakers. But his last 5 games that he's played, he's averaging 5.5 points, 1.6 rebounds, shooting 30% from the field and 30% from 3. What happened to Rui? And what I can't tell with Rui, is it because he's now coming off the bench? Is it because he doesn't have a playmaker that he could kind of rely on off the bench? One of the reasons why Rui has done, when he was in the starting lineup, and I'm not making a case for him to go back to the starting lineup, even though I think they should be open to all kind of possibilities. But one of the things I will say with Rui is I think one of the things that made him most effective is you had to pay attention to Luka and pay attention to LeBron and had to pay attention to AR. And now all of a sudden, all 3 of those players are in the starting lineup that typically when Rui's in the game now, they can kind of pay a little bit more attention to Rui. He doesn't seem like he's in any groove as well. So I think it's kind of been fascinating to watch Rui Hachimura. Guys, there was a stretch there where he was really important for the Lakers. He was talking about how he enjoys coming off the bench. He's got no problem coming off the bench and whatever it means for the team, as long as he's getting starter minutes, that whole conversation that we had. And now I think Rui is finding himself being a lot less effective for the Lakers over this last handful of games or stretch of games. They're going to need these guys. I mean, Lakers got Denver coming up tomorrow. And when you start playing teams like the Denver Nuggets or the New York Knicks coming up on Sunday or next week against Minnesota, Houston, all these teams that are super relevant and obviously are going to be teams that you would potentially face in the playoffs. Of course, not the teams that are in the Eastern Conference, but you guys know what I'm referring to. They're all playoff teams. I don't think you can have Rui being as non-existent as he's been. Obviously, Austin Reaves struggles, but I don't know if I have an answer to the Rui Hachimura struggles. Anybody got an answer to that? Anybody help me out with some of the struggles with Rui? Rui will be big tomorrow against the Nuggets. What's funny with Rui too, to me is he went through a stretch where he was such a kind of a key component for the Lakers, and now it's kind of like irrelevant. Nobody's talking about Rui. I remember at the trade deadline, this was the day before the trade deadline, a couple days, maybe the day before, whatever it was, or no, maybe it was the day of. I can't remember. Remember, we were at Harris. It was actually, now that I think about it, it was about 4 or 5 days before that we're at Harris and we're doing the show. And before we start the show, there's rumors coming out about will the Lakers trade him to the Cavs? And there was the conversation of, does it make sense to trade him? Does it not make sense to trade him? Should the Lakers keep him? He's on an expiring contract as well. And I would say about 80% of Laker fans were like, no, they should keep Rui. Honestly, since that moment, I don't feel like I've had much to talk about with Rui at all. Rui has a slow shot that he only gets off when he's wide open. You're not wrong about that. You're definitely right about that, which I think goes to my point about the spacing, and he's had enough spacing and he's been able to kind of be his best version of himself when he is playing with some of the stars out there. And when he's not, and he's coming off the bench with a Luke Kennard and a Jake LaRavia, it's like he kind of loses his value because of that. I really do think every one of these conversations that we're having does lead me more and more to why Austin Reaves should come off the bench. Maybe there will be a little bit of momentum towards that. AR needs to lead the second unit. Jack needs to start over Ayton. I don't think you're wrong about that. I think there is something there as well. Let's get a couple more in here. I like a starting unit of Luka, Smart, Kennard, Braun, Jackson, AR. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. With AR and Ayton leading the second unit with Rui and LaRavia. That's pretty drastic there. I don't think they're going to do that. Let's get another one here. Luke Kennard took over Rui's role. That might actually be the best explanation. Is I don't think there's anybody watching Luke Kennard right now and saying, you got to get this guy out of the game. You know what? Luke Kennard he's not getting it done for the Lakers. That might be some of the best explanation. Granted, they're not two of the same players, but Luke Kennard's almost a 50% three-point shooter, has great spacing, is better on the floor right now in the sense that he's not just one-dimensional. He could dribble the ball as well, where Rui is more just kind of a spot-up shooter. So I think there's something there as well. All right, let's get a couple more in here. Somebody talking about tomorrow's game. Tomorrow's a big game. Tomorrow's a big game. Huge game against Denver tomorrow. Rui doesn't use his size to his advantage. Definitely doesn't do that. Luka is the leader that's supposed to set the tone, get players involved earlier so they get more engaged in the game, give more effort because the ball's moving. Luka stops ball movement. Yeah, that's a conversation that we've had as well in regards to you just genuinely cannot play ISO basketball. And every time the Lakers do that, it's a recipe for disaster. And just wait, they play good teams. You play ISO ball, you're losing that game. That's not how it works. You need 4, 5, 6 guys contributing for the Lakers. Rui doesn't do much else besides threes. Yeah, that part's a good point right there. By the way, a lot of good comments here. Slee jinxed Reaves when he started talking about his playoff numbers a couple weeks ago. Well, I wasn't complimenting his playoff numbers. I was telling you that his playoff numbers weren't great. Had I jinxed him? If he was doing great, and then I started talking about a jinx is when you say somebody has hit 18 free throws in a row and then they miss the next free throw. Not when you say he's shooting 60% from the free throw line and then he misses a free throw. How the hell did I jinx him? That's what happens, you see? People get frustrated and then they start pointing the finger everywhere. Okay, I think the bottom line is this, and I think this is, these last two topics I think says enough right there. I think as you're looking at, Austin Reaves and Rui Hachimura are two players that have been key members to the Lakers for the last couple of years. They both got to be better. They both have to do, obviously got to be more effective for the Lakers, specifically Austin Reaves. But I don't want to forget about Rui Hachimura because I feel like he's in a similar, not as much of, obviously a bar for Rui, but also a key player for the Lakers as well. He's got to be better as well. All right, we'll get to some more of your comments here in just a second. There are some other things that I want to talk about as well. So we could, obviously keep moving to some of the comments here and some of the topics as well. Before I do so, Harrah's Resort SoCal. We got a date. I'm still coordinating some stuff, but April 2nd, the Lakers are at the Oklahoma City Thunder, and we're going to do a viewing party for that game and then the post-game show from Harrah's. So you guys just get ready for me to inundate you and ask for as many people to come out and hang out with me on April 2nd and be a part of that post-game show. But just something to keep in mind, keep it in your calendar. We're going to have special rates for that day as well. It's going to be a phenomenal event. I'm looking forward to it. And I love having Harrah's as a partner because we can do things like this. They're located about an hour to 2 hours wherever you are in Southern California. Weather's starting to look beautiful. The sun is out. This is a perfect place for a staycation. Go to harrahsocal.com, or better yet, go to the description in this video where if you want to book at Harrah's, get 20% off by using our URL. So again, go to the description of this video, and if you're interested in going to Harrah's Resort SoCal, it's a phenomenal resort. They got everything there. It's one of those places where it's just smart to go there, staycation, just get in your car, and you're there in no time. You can enjoy that lazy river. You could enjoy that swim up bar. You can enjoy Hell's Kitchen, one of the best restaurants in all of Southern California. You can enjoy the Rincon Brewery. You can enjoy over 1,000 luxurious rooms. Phenomenal place. Great partner. We will be doing a post-game show from there on April 2nd. Keep you posted on that. Shout out to Harrah's Resort SoCal. Use our link. I'm telling you, you can book, get 20% off just by using our link if you're interested in going to Harrah's Resort SoCal. All right, let's keep it moving here. Luka picked up another technical yesterday. Big deal or not a big deal? He's got 14 technical fouls on the season, which means he's 2 technical fouls away from getting suspended again. What do we make of that? Do you care? Do you not care? Will you care if he gets to 15 and you're 1 away and then you're like, okay, hey, now it's time to care? Let me play out a scenario for you. Say you got 2 more technicals. Say he gets one in the next week. He's sent on 15. And then they're playing the Houston Rockets in a game and he just can't contain himself. He gets a second technical foul. I think they have a back-to-back against the Rockets. And let's say he can't contain himself. He gets a technical foul. And you know what? Luka Doncic in the second game against the Houston Rockets can't play because he got he had 16 technical fouls. What would you do in that situation? What would you say? What would kind of be your emotions if Luka put himself in a position where he got 16 technical fouls and maybe missed a critical game that could be the difference of some playoff standings, or it could be the difference of a tiebreaker? How would you look at Luka? What are some of the characteristics what are some of the things that would come to mind if that happened with Luka? I'll tell you my interpretation. And listen, I've complained about Luka complaining too much, and he pays too much attention to the referees. But that's more because it's just annoying to watch. And I think this is the first time when it happened yesterday when it's like, yeah, he's only 2 technicals away from actually being suspended. That kind of takes on a different meaning because for Luka, he's such a key piece, obviously, to this team. Nobody's questioning if he's a franchise player. He's the present. He's the future. Top 5 player in the league. No one's questioning any of that stuff. But if I told you, hey, what are some of the things that frustrates you with Luka? I would say that complains too much to the referees, doesn't do enough on the defensive side, too much ISO basketball. I would find some things to tell you that obviously is frustrating. But the complaining to the referees, that's a whole different level. If you suspend yourself for a game by hitting that 16 technical mark, they got still over a quarter of the season left. You're going to tell me Luka's not going to get 2 technical fouls over the course of these final 21 games? Incredible if he doesn't. But if he does, this is what I would say. Hypothetically, if Luka ends up getting 2 more technicals and then gets suspended for a game, and, if the Lakers, especially if they end up losing that game, how critical of a game is it? Who did they play? Is it a team that they're fighting with in the standings? I'd be really disappointing. I think it will be a big story if it happens. And I think a lot of people should be very, very critical of Luka if that happens. You can't hurt the team that way because you might have an individual gripe against a referee. You might say the world's against me. You might just not be able to control your emotions. But if he does get suspended for a game, and by the way, they could rescind that technical from yesterday. I heard Spectrum saying something about that. So maybe he'll be at 13 and he's good to go and he's perfectly pacing himself to not get a suspension before the season ends. But if he finds a way to suspend himself and get 16 technical fouls, that's very disappointing. And it's disappointing because your leader can't control his emotions. It's disappointing because when your team needs you the most, you're not able to kind of control that inner part of you. That's I don't know what to tell you, but if it does happen and he ends up getting 2 more technicals and he ends up getting suspended in a game, I will tell you, it's open reins to rip Luka for that if that happens. I hope it doesn't. But if you got 14 with 21 games left to go, and we see how emotional Luka is. I mean, hell, Luka last night already had a technical foul and didn't like, a no call or whatever the case is, turned to one of the referees, slapped the hands. There was a little bit of distance, but did one of those, you're showing up one of these referees. If he did not have a technical foul, they would have gave him his first technical there. He had a technical foul, and I think that referee swallowed his whistle or her whistle. I can't remember which referee it was, because they already knew Luka had one and they didn't want to throw Luka out of the game. My point is that he's got a very difficult time controlling his emotions. Have to rip into Luka if he finds a way to suspend him, get himself suspended for a game. That'd be highly, highly disappointing. It really would. But it's probably more likely to happen than not. So Luka right now sitting at 14 technical fouls based off yesterday, and we'll see from there. All right, let me see what we got here. Let's see what people are saying. And I did ask, from my perspective, I'm curious to see how you guys would feel if we're doing a post-game show in one of these final 21 games, and I'm telling you, hey, Luka can't play tomorrow against Minnesota, or he can't play tomorrow against Houston, or he can't play tomorrow against Denver, or even if he can't play against a trash team, right? We've seen the Lakers lose to trash teams or teams that are injured or whatever the case is. So let's see what people got to say here. Hope he gets the second technical, so media coverage will force him to answer for himself. Okay. Let's get another one here. He should have been tossed at the end of the game when he clapped at the ref again. That's exactly what I'm talking about, by the way. The play that you're referring to is exactly the one that I'm talking about. Yeah, he got lucky. Listen, and if you would have got that second technical, nobody, I saw the whole Pelicans bench, because it was right in front of their bench. All of them get up like, how are you not giving him a second technical? I agreed with it. If they gave him a second T, it's like, yeah, Luka, you did that to yourself, brother. There's no one else to blame but you. Refs wanted to get out of there. Okay. Let's get a couple more here. I'm actually very curious to see what people think about this. Get suspended now instead of in the playoffs like Draymond. If I'm right, I think it resets come playoff time. So I don't think he's got to worry about, if he ends up with 15 technical fouls, I don't think there's if he gets one more, he's suspended for a playoff game. I think this is just regular season. I'd have to double check, but I think it's just regular season. Let him complain. It's part of his game. Need him to play with emotion and fire. So you can't play with emotion and fire unless you're bitching and complaining to the referees? Come on, brother. How's that the justification? There's not a way that he can play with emotion and fire without blaming the referees on 50% of the possessions. I don't know if I agree with that one. Actually, I do know that I don't agree with that one. Stu said it. Talk to them calmly when there's a moment. Yeah. By the way, he does do that. The funny thing is, there's a lot of times I see him during a timeout. He'll walk over to a ref and have just a regular conversation. I know it's not personal. I know he's not, trying to demolish the referees, but he just has no way of controlling that emotion. It's all good until you get suspended for a game, or it's all good until your technical foul is the difference of winning and losing a game. And that's been obviously part of the problem with Luka. As great as he is, obviously it's a problem, and it will become a bigger problem if hypothetically he gets suspended for a game and it's a big game that the Lakers got against one of these potential playoff opponents that they're fighting with in the standings. It does reset at the start of the playoffs. So he'll have nothing to worry about in regards to that. Okay, let's couple more comments here. I know there's a few in here. Let's see what we got here. It's going to be related to Luka being a pro since he was 15 with Real Madrid. He never grew out of it. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. I just what it can't happen is it can't hurt the team, and obviously, if Luka's suspended for a game, it's hurting the team. So, um, I think that to me is probably the most important thing to keep in mind. If it hurts the team, then we go from there. Let's see what we got here. We got all caps, somebody yelling, brah. Why do y'all keep trying to make wins against lottery teams a good thing? These 3 wins doesn't matter. Appear the fact it was close. Real. No, I don't disagree with you that these last 3 wins. It was. I would tell you this: their last 4 games, they were supposed to go 4-0, and if they did go 4-0, it's not this unbelievable winning streak. It's, yeah, you kind of did exactly what you were supposed to do. I agree that the games that only matter now moving forward are the games against teams above 500. Because if you beat Denver tomorrow, then all of a sudden the conversation will change a little bit. But if you lose by 10 tomorrow, then it's the same old Lakers. Or if you beat the Knicks on Sunday, then it's like, hey, that's a good quality win, probably the best win the Lakers have had in a couple of months. Or if you lose on Sunday, it's the same old Lakers. Let me give you guys this Lakers schedule coming up here because, and I'm just talking about, some of the teams that the Lakers got coming up. They don't even have to go. It doesn't have to be even this crazy stretch. Let me say this, just again, some of the teams above 500. At Denver, let me pick 5 games they got coming up against teams over 500. At Denver, home against New York, home against the Timberwolves, home against Denver, and actually let me go at Houston. There's 6 games right there that they have. And it's a perfect balance. 3 at home, 3 on the road. If they went 3-3 in those 6 games, and we have something to talk about that the Lakers are actually beating teams above 500, then I think that's a positive stretch. Literally just going 3-3 over those 6 games would give some positivity towards, all right, well, at least they're starting to beat some teams that are above 500. You go 2-4, you're basically the same team that you've been. What I think they're 11-16. I forget their exact record right now against teams over 500. It might be 11-16 because each of these last 3 games they played are all teams below 500. The last team they played above 500 was the Boston, Orlando, Phoenix. And Phoenix, obviously, without Devin Booker and without Dylan Brooks. Those are the last 3 teams they played against teams over 500. They lost all 3 of those. So you just go 3-3 in these 6 games and then, beat up some of the bad teams. You might have a stretch where you're 5-3 and 6-3, but you also have some quality wins in that process. Nobody's even telling you got to go 4-2 against those teams over 500. Just start getting some type of quality wins so people can change the narrative just a little bit. It's a good point. I think that's a fair conversation there. But somebody's saying here they lost all 3 of those. Yes, that's the entire point. The point is that the Lakers, every time they play a decent team, they lose. And when they played Phoenix, who you're supposed to beat because it's Grayson Allen and Colin Gillespie, they lost. So obviously that has a lot to do with the Lakers, and I think that tells a little bit of their story here. Okay, I got one final topic I want to get into. And then I got some NBA news, and then we're going to get the hell out of here. I'm going to do this real quick. And we don't have to spend too much time on it, but something's happening, and I want to get everybody's opinion on this as well. By the way, thank you for being a part of the show. Shout out to everybody that's here on my YouTube channel. Shout out to anybody here from AM 570's YouTube, AM 570's Facebook, AM 570's Twitter, my Twitter as well. Thank you for being here. So we're trying to use more and more platforms, kind of continuing to grow my partnership with iHeart and AM 570. And, they love the Lakers content. That's what we want, and that's what we do here. So it's a perfect marriage, a perfect partnership. LeBron milestones. LeBron's a couple field goals away from passing Kareem for most career field goals in the history of the NBA. He had this, there was a graph yesterday. Who was all on there? I'm drawing a little bit of a blank, but I know Kareem was on there. think Michael was on there. I think Karl Malone was on there. Just all these legends. LeBron's also passing all these milestones that have to do with the Lakers. 3 field goals made away from having the most made field goals in the history of the NBA. How about Laker milestones? 1,000 3-point shots made with the Lakers, past Michael Cooper to move into 5th of the Lakers all-time assists. Ryan Ward put an article on Sports Illustrated. You know what's kind of funny about all the milestones he's passing? I'm going to try to be as respectful as I can here. He's passing so many milestones that none of them actually mean anything to me, because it's like, yeah, what are you going to do? It's another milestone. It's actually a compliment to him because of how many milestones he has passed and how every single game he's passing another one, or a Laker milestone or an NBA milestone. He's 3 field goals away from having the most made field goals in the history of the NBA. Now he's 23 years in the league, still obviously putting up. He was great in the first half, quiet in the second half. Sometimes he has phenomenal possessions. Other times it's like, LeBron, what are you doing? Okay, it comes with the territory. But every game he's passing a milestone. Appreciate it. You don't have to love LeBron, but just appreciate it, because, obviously it will come to an end here sooner than later. Dan Wyke had an article in The Athletic. LeBron's future has never been more uncertain. Could I tell you what would be the biggest surprise to me at this point? If you told me 3 scenarios for LeBron. LeBron plays with another team next year, LeBron retires, or LeBron comes back with the Lakers for his 9th season as a Los Angeles Laker. Do you know which one of those would surprise me the most? Comes back to the Lakers. I feel like this is it, and we'll see what happens. But this article came out yesterday. LeBron's future has never been more uncertain. I would be, of all the scenarios out there, I'd be most surprised that he comes back a Los Angeles Laker. That's my opinion. We'll see what eventually happens, but something to keep in mind there. Okay, a couple quick NBA stories, and then we're going to get the hell out of here. NBA Power Rankings came out. Let's just kind of walk through this here real quick. Should I share my screen with you guys? Show it? Yeah, let's. Time I share my screen, I'm singing Kumbaya. Let me share my screen here real quick. I got the Power Rankings already up. Let me show it to you. The Oklahoma City Thunder, number 1. It's on ESPN. Detroit Pistons, number 2. I'm confused here why they have Denver at number 3. Honestly, it makes no sense to me at all. Sometimes people do this to just, get a different narrative out there. San Antonio is definitely better than Denver. Boston deserves to be above Denver. I don't know why the Nuggets are number 3. I know the Lakers got the Nuggets tomorrow, but if somebody wants to explain this one to me, go ahead. I think there's a typo here. That makes no sense that Denver would be number 3. Spurs number 4, Boston number 5, Knicks number 6. Here's Minnesota at 7, Cleveland at 8, Rockets at 9, and the Lakers at number 10. So they didn't move from last week to this week. There's your top 10 right there. Lakers cracking the top 10. And then there's a lot of teams after that that's kind of in the air. Phoenix, the reason why they're dropping or falling are just injuries. That's it. It's got nothing else to do with the Phoenix Suns. The Suns just aren't healthy. Couple things to keep in mind here. Lakers, by the way, 14-18 versus teams above 500. So we do have a little update on that. 14-18 versus teams above 500. So we got the latest there. Last thing I want to mention here, and then we'll read a couple comments. We'll call it a day. Tonight, good game on ESPN. Thunder at the Knicks. I don't know who's going to play for OKC. I know they've had a number of players in and out of the lineup. It's a fun game. Oklahoma City Thunder at the New York Knicks. All the other games don't seem that interesting. Maybe Hornets Celtics, but not really. Pacers are taking on the Clippers, so there's your games coming up for tonight. So nothing too out of the ordinary. Nothing too great. All right, let's get a last couple of comments in here and go from there. Kareem wasn't allowed to dunk and couldn't play as a freshman. Guys, I think it's no surprise or shock here. Obviously, the longevity of LeBron is what's helping him get all these records. Kareem is one of the top 3 players in the NBA. Some would say he's the greatest of all time. Some would say he's second, wherever you want to put him. Nobody's going to sit here and take away anything from what Kareem did. It's going to hit more when you look at the all-time league leaders and see LeBron James on nearly everything. That's part of his, I think, his calculation of trying to be considered the greatest of all time. And I think some of that is going to be considered that way only for the mere fact because he's going to be in, you might say, oh, well, he doesn't have 6 championships. All right. But go look at the record books. He's holding so many different records around the league. So I think that's something to keep in mind as well. All right, a couple more comments, and then we're done for the day. Let's see what we got here. LeBron has the most haters in the history of the game. I don't argue that. I think you might be right there. I mean, even the team that he's playing for, that he's the biggest reason why they won a championship in 2020, as in he brought in Anthony Davis and his relationship there, all that stuff, however you want to put it. Even the team that he helped win a championship, there's a lot of Laker fans that I think either don't like LeBron or are over LeBron or whatever the case is. And listen, from my perspective, I've enjoyed my time having LeBron on the Lakers, but I am ready for that chapter to end. I'm ready for a new chapter after this season. All right, let's see what else we have here. Yeah, this is probably not going to happen. Slee, please cover the Clippers moving forward. You do a great job with the wrong team. For sure, man. For sure. I don't mind you. I love having you in the chat. I've said that before. It's fun having a kind of a random Clipper fan in here. I welcome all NBA fans in here, but what are we talking about here? What are we talking about? All right, we'll end the show right there. I appreciate you guys being a part of the show. Thank you very much for being here. Really fun show today. Back on tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Trevor Lane, Lakers Nation, is going to join the show tomorrow. We'll get everybody ready for the Lakers and the Denver Nuggets. There will be a preview video tonight from Sammy Long doing the obviously doing a preview video. So we'll get to that, something to keep in mind, and we'll go from there. 570 is a Clipper station. Exactly why I'm on there, to bring some more Lakers coverage. So if you want Clippers content, you can go wherever you want for it. But if you want Lakers content, then you just find me. Just find me. Thank you, everybody. Hope you have a great rest of your day. And I will see you guys tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Lakers taking on the Denver Nuggets. We'll go from there. Thank you, everybody.